Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Meepolis and this is Literally Graphic. And today I'm doing another collection of silent comics, this time by the one and only Thomas Ott. I initially read his work when I first started my YouTube channel, but looking back, I don't think I ever made a video specifically about any of his work, so I do feel like I need to rectify that situation. Before I switch to the flip-throughs, there's definitely a dark noir sort of inspiration going on and warnings for nudity, KKK attempt at lynching, attempted suicide, other kinds of graphic murder, death, body horror, war, depiction of something supposed to be voodoo I think, some Dia de la Muertos, and Lucha Libre imagery and clowns. Digging into Ott himself, apparently he was born in Zurich, grew up in Bermensdorf, and lived in Paris for a while for work reasons, before returning to Zurich to switch careers. Since then, he has apparently also been married and gained 2 children. Flipping back through the books I got from the library, I think the main thing that attracted me to Ott's work is his very dramatic and distinctive style. I was also on a very surrealist kick at the time that I certainly still enjoy. That said, I certainly picked the cinema PANOPTICUM to put on my want list for Christmas a couple of years ago because it was the least dark and grotesque volume I've seen so far. Although there's no escaping at least some cultural appropriation. I also feel like a matte paper would have been a better choice, but I hate shiny papers with a passion. Heavily influenced by noir storytelling and imagery, the representation of women is not great, quote, classic, as it were. Heterosexuality, including a tricky woman character and a submissive male character, is the only sexual relationship represented. Assumed, quote, traditional family, unquote, dynamics are also present. Sadly, Ott does fall into what feels like most European comic creators when it comes to representing North American cultures just for the exoticism of it all. Certainly not the worst representation I've seen, but as a very white person, I'm not the one to approve of any of this either. With some of his characters clearly struggling to survive, Ott is at least representing non-wealthy people. Better than the, quote, grittiness of rich people who can't find any meaning in their struggle-free lives. As far as ability versus disability in Cinema Panopticum, one of the 3 short stories is of some body horror that ends up being a welcome thing, so a bit of subversion of disfiguration equals evil or bad, I suppose. There's a pretty normal-looking gentleman who is a little person who leads to the main character's demise. Originally, I rated each of these collections as 4 out of 5 stars. I think I'll be lowering that rating for the 2 besides Cinema Panopticum to 3 out of 5 stars. Ott's draftsmanship is very high, but many of the stories are more than a little cliche and lazy, playing with things that aren't really theirs to play with. Perhaps they should be even lower, but nostalgia is a tough thing to overcome. Bye y'all, keep reading and resist white supremacy. And as always, Literally Graphic is recorded on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation. I live here because of British colonization, Indigenous genocide, and more geographically specific, Treaty 13, also known as the Toronto Purchase, which was finalized in 1805 between representatives of the Crown and certain Mississauga peoples. This treaty was a lie and has since been broken many times over. Saying so reflects only my own small steps towards knowing the truth and does nothing for reconciliation.